welcome to my channel. I'm Polish Agnes. I'm your host for today. And today is October 28th, about almost 7 o'clock. We are starting early here. Imagine that, because I'm usually late. But today is a good day to do a little bit of a podcasting. I want to welcome George Austin.
Hello.
Hi, George. You
Hello.
are a candidate for Congress for District 2 in Connecticut. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, so I had a chance to look it up actually yesterday, the cities that are in your district, and I was like, oh my goodness, they are literally all over the place.
Yeah,
I was a little shocked.
we got 64 towns. When I when I tried to describe this in person to anyone who doesn't know, I kind of say we're just 91 east, with the exception of my hometown in Suffield. We're one of the only ones. No, we are the only one that is west of 91 that is in the district. And yeah, that's we're actually also 44% of the state in square miles. So it's a big district.
Wow. So I saw that you have literally the north, which is Enfield, and then you have Long Island Sound, correct? So which is the Groton, New London. What else? What else do you have?
We follow 95 all the way down to Madison and Clinton, and then you
Uh
shoot
huh.
at 91. Um, there's a couple omissions, like for example, we don't have Middletown, we don't have South Windsor, East Windsor, we have half of Glastonbury. But other than that, yeah, it follows 91 east.
Yeah. So New London County, Toland County, Windham County. So you have Mansfield, right? You have Columbia that they had the rally last weekend. Am I
Right.
correct?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So what it says here, I use ChatGPT. It's great for your numbers. So the ethnic makeup, approximately, your district has about 78% white, 9.3% Hispanic. It's 3.7 black, 3.7 Asian, and more than one race. It's the rest, which is 4.4. So majority of your district, actually 78% of white people. I mean, that is, I usually there is like 50-50 kind of, but not in your district, which um doesn't really give you a lot of choice in between what kind of people you have.
Well, I'm not sure where you would have choice, anyways, but
Yeah,
I
that's
would
true.
say that I know that those numbers sound very, very reminiscent of the census data from 2020, and that is that I personally believe, and my team also believes that that's actually a bit flawed. It's common knowledge that that census data is flawed. So what I have actually been doing is just
Mhm.
doing some on the ground, a recon. Say, for example, we're looking at high school yearbooks. We're looking at anyone who identifies their geographical location on the socials, Facebook and whatnot. And I believe those numbers to be a little askew. Now, I maybe not monumental by monumental proportions, but say for example, you just said 9 point something. For Hispanics, we believe that to be closer to 15,
Oh
because
yeah, okay.
because the census data is only as good as who reports it, right? Because
Yes, that's true.
big because that's all self-reported. Now, again, that's a very useful tool to start with. But again, it's kind of widespread theory that to be very flawed.
Mhm. What else I was gonna say? So as of 2023, it says that your district has a population of 716,835. So it is pretty big district, to be honest. 700,000 people is a lot.
Right.
And then the median household income says here around 95,000, which is not so bad for Connecticut. Almost 100 grand.
That's interesting that you say that. I was just looking that up myself. Uh,
Yeah.
I was just looking that up myself, and I'm getting. I was actually. I'm. Well. All right. So I'm preparing to all evening I've been preparing a little event that we're holding at Eastern Connecticut State, and it's kind of they call it a table event where we just kind of set up a booth in front of a building and just have interactions, kind of like reminiscent of Steven Crowder or Charlie Kirk. Even I mean, obviously, I don't know how I can
Mm-hmm.
shoot,
Yeah.
but anyways, I was looking at and so the question and so the theme and the question that we're going to pose to all the kids is, can you afford to stay? Can you afford to move out after graduating? And so I was actually looking at it because I'm a building contractor. I actually just did my. I've been building homes for several years now, and
Mm-hmm.
I decided to look at not only the median incomes but mortgage applications by demographic. And one of those, and you just mentioned the median family income. The median family income in 2020, when they did the census, is 102,000 in outside of Hartford in Connecticut. So what they call non-metro Connecticut is
Mm-hmm.
102,000 in 2020. I'm just trying to scroll down to the other one. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I'm wrong. That was Hartford. That was Metro Hartford. Outside of Metro Hartford is actually 94,529 in 2020. Now that is as of 2025. The decennial is 113,700. So I'm pretty sure they're adjusting that for inflation. But the moral of the story is, it's not bad when you compare it to the rest of the state, except for property taxes, except for our sales tax, except for our sin tax, except for insert name here of our taxes and fees, our litany of taxes and fees that we pay here in the state.
Mm-hmm.
So having a higher, having a higher median income only goes so far when you have local, state, and federal government all with their hand out and in your pocket every week.
Right. I also noticed here from the information that I pulled up, it says roughly a median age in your district of people that live there is 42 years old.
It's pretty old.
And the home ownership rate in the district is around 73%. That's high.
It
And the
is.
median property value about 317,000. I mean, if you have 73% homeowners, to be honest with you, they all pay with their taxes into the system. 73% is a lot.
It is. You're right.
It's more of the it's more, isn't it more like of a rural type of area, when I'm really thinking about it, because you said I don't think your district have any towns with a lot of like multi-family houses, like apartments, condominiums? It
Well,
seems like there's a lot of more people own single family houses.
I would agree. I would agree because most of our towns in the well, all right. So first off, we have a lot of towns in the district. Second off, we have most towns are small and rural. To your point. Third, you have not so many are full of apartments. For example, I mean, obviously you have New London and Waterford. You have some in Stonington. Essentially all up and down the shore. Uh,
Mhm.
but overall, the vast majority of these towns have next to zero apartments, next to zero multifamily. Which,
Mhm.
say for example, Hebron. Hebron's a really good example I like to use about the what was it, HB 5002, which the governor actually vetoed. It was a zoning bill, which, without getting too far down into the details, was going to it was going to usurp all of the local zoning power away, or not all, but enough, like enough to make a difference, anyways. Enough of the zoning power from the towns back into the state, or not back into the state. It was the state was going to usurp it from the towns rather, and the issue with that is, especially in Hebron, which is the example I was going to give. There's been back and forth between affordable housing, which is a farce in and of itself, and so there are some condos and apartments in Hebron, but the only way to make affordable housing, as it's written in the 830G law, is to essentially do very high density housing, which is multifamily, which is apartments, and the town of Hebron is adamantly fighting that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's very common. I mean, that's common statewide, but particularly in our district, in the second district, where we have all these rural towns, that would explain why we have such a high home ownership, because we have low. We really do have a low population per square mile. It's not very dense. Our population is not very dense, so that would explain why we have so much land, and such a high home ownership rate.
Mm-hmm. I have the map right here. I don't know if you can see it,
Yep.
but the District 2. Hold on, I'm gonna try to make it bigger if I possibly can. Let me see. So
If
you are District 2.
If you made the district any bigger, it'd be the whole state.
Yeah, basically, right? Look at that. Did I make it bigger?
Yes.
Yes, I did. So you're District 2. So like that line that goes in between 3 and 1, it's kind of funny, you know, how they make it, but they had to include all the towns. Your district basically looks like it's the biggest on the map here.
It is.
And
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised because, you know, to be honest with you, I never really paid attention to how they actually divided the whole entire Connecticut into the districts. I just know that majority of our Congress, you know, they are Democrats, and we definitely do need to break that up. I would definitely agree. We do need that, and this is why I am talking to you, because I love my Republican fellows, and I would love for you to get in and you know, change something for these folks here. I mean, the taxes that they pay on their real estate, which is going to be, you know, like majority in the towns. But then I also think if we do have more Republicans in the Congress, you know, we can try to bring you know, taxes in the legislature, and so then everyone can vote what to do about them, you know, because Connecticut is one of the most expensive states to live at, and one of the most expensive taxes. And I don't really know why we pay so much taxes, and why is like a single family house 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, $10,000 a year, and where is this money? I really think that current, you know, Congress is really doing that great of a job for other people. And so I want you to tell me, what would be your plan? Why are you running? Tell us, you know, something about yourself, so we can get to know you better.
Well, that was a lot to unpack.
I know.
To try and explain why Congress is so bad at their job and why we're being taxed into oblivion, we don't have enough time here tonight to even scratch the surface. But I will say this: as far as the reason why I'm doing this, so I'm 37. I'm a small business owner here in Suffield. I've been in construction ever since I'm 17. I'm a contractor. I'm a licensed building official. I've been a football coach, both youth and high school. I am a mother, and I'm a mother. Yeah, right. I'm a father and husband, and I'm also a first generation American. My dad was an immigrant from Mexico, and all these. And to be honest with you, I just got sick of losing. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. You know, I'm sick of being on the couch,
I feel you.
pointing fingers, saying I would have done that. You should have done this. That would have been better. I said, screw it. I'm going to get off my ass and do something and do it, and do it myself. So here we are. When it comes to trying to bring some representation, trying to get any representation for the 40 some odd percent registered Republicans in Connecticut, which are mostly in between districts 2 and 5. Which we're gonna, please remind me, we need to circle back to that. You had mentioned about why, or you maybe started to mention why the districts look that way, and we're gonna get back to that. But
Okay.
and we have over 40% registered R's in this state, and zero, to your point, zero representation in Congress, and not just in Connecticut. That those numbers kind of hold true in Rhode Island, in Mass. I'm not sure. I don't really recall Vermont's numbers right now, but the point is, say for example, what just recently happened in Texas. There were accusations levied against the Texas Assembly for gerrymandering, for district gerrymandering, which I guess is which is a fancy way to say that they're going to say, all right, we're going to bring in these people and we're going to exclude these people, essentially for reasons of that are based upon how they vote in local elections, which is another reason why it is so important to make sure we get as many municipal as high of a municipal a turnout for us as is possible come next Tuesday. That is the most important part. But getting back to it, actually, I'm so glad I didn't forget. So getting back to why the districts look that way. If you noticed in District 1, it kind of looked like a J. It kind of had a top hat. My hometown of Suffield, we were actually in District 1 until, if not this, it's been recent. Like during Courtney's term, we were in the first district, now we're in the second, because we started to become so red. And it's, which would also explain why you have half of Ellington or not exactly half, but let's just say half of Ellington and half of Glastonbury are half one, half two, half one, half two, because, they're just trying to make up somewhat equal populations per district, but they're splitting it up based on the voting propensity. So if you have a big block in District 5 and a big block in District 2 that vote red, it behooves you to keep them red, to kind of get them as all red as possible, so that way you have strongholds, which you have in the center. You have in the first with Larson, in the third with Rosa DeLauro, and in the fourth with Jim Himes. Those are strongholds. Their rating is like D. The registration rating, I want to say, is like D plus 10 or more. I'm sure it's D plus 10 or more. Whereas in the fifth, it's D plus 3, and mine is D plus 4. So those are very winnable. And it's real important that we bring Congress back to earth. That's kind of the way I look at it. I look at it as, say, for example, Joe Courtney is his image is Mr. Middle of the Road, but he's always voting party line. So I don't know where this image comes from. He's
been there. So he's been there a very long time. He's been in Congress for 15. Yes, 2007. Yeah, 2007. 2007 was he elected? I think so. I looked it up.
He won in 06, which means he took office in 07.
Okay, but that's a long time for someone.
Larson's been there longer. I don't want to speak. I believe Rosa DeLauro has been there also longer. I know Hayes has been less, and Jim Himes has been less.
Yeah, she's mine in my district. So I think she started in either 2018 or 19. Yeah, but I do not like this woman because she voted, to defund the police. Like, luckily, at least Joe Courtney, that is a current congressman for District 5. I looked it up. Luckily, he did not vote to defund the police, and that was one thing that I actually was like, wow, that's crazy, because mostly Democrats want to defund basically everything. They literally want to defund us, the taxpayers. The more the merrier. They want to take, but I feel like they don't really give enough back. Just like with the government today, there is this huge blow up about SNAP benefits. And everyone is blaming Trump. And I'm going to sit here today and tell you that Democrats blocked that budget 12 times, or maybe 13 it is now. And we have to pass the budget. You have to always do it. Always. There's not like the budget just going to roll by itself. Every president gets in and it needs to pass the budget. The Democrats are not letting to pass the budget because they are trying to bully Republicans and Trump to still keep healthcare for illegals.
Right.
That's the main thing. That's why they don't want to pass the budget, and there is a big possibility that a lot of people are not going to see their footsteps on November 1st. They may arrive there later, obviously, because it's not like they're all just going to cut and disappear. So, they're going to be delayed. But then you got to remember, we have Democrats that are literally voting against opening the government. And we have those in Connecticut.
Right.
These are the guys that we have in Connecticut that are literally voting not to open because they want to still keep passing stuff for illegals. And that is not fair. And I always say that, I pay crazy amount of money for like health insurance. I pay crazy amount of money in taxes and everything else. And how come I can't get free healthcare? But everyone else can.
That's a fantastic question. That's a fantastic question. But I can tell you, part of the reason why we have this issue in terms of the government shutdown, because when they're trying to, we haven't passed a budget in Congress in almost 30 years, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, but say around about 30 years. And it's mainly because of the emergence of what's called the omnibus bill. The omnibus bill is just a bunch of little pieces, say, for example, funding for the military, funding for the Department of Interior, funding for the DOE, etc. So on and so forth, funding for the FBI and the DOD, which is not part of defense, as it were. There are a whole bunch of little tiny pieces. Let's call it 12 pieces of the pie, and 9 or 10 of these pieces would pass real easy, but they lob them all together, and they pass it, and they put them in as an omnibus, which ends up being just a continuing resolution, which is to say, yeah, let's just keep spending, and if something goes over budget, well, we'll just find some more money, or in this case, we'll print it, right? And we'll get back to that in a second. But in terms of how to get around this, which is something that, to his credit, Thomas Massie has been trying to do, which is vote down on the omnibus. He was not he voted down on the big beautiful bill, and that's because it was an omnibus bill. And all these budgets are omnibus bills, and you can't. All these issues would have been much better served. Like, you wouldn't have soldiers or air traffic controllers going without pay and therefore not going to work. TSA agents going to work, so on and so forth. If you passed these budget items on a piecemeal basis, now that sounds like it's less efficient, and it is, because a lot of these guys are lazy. They're not. I mean, there's no other explanation than, why would you not do your job in that way to get the most done as possible? Start with low-hanging fruit, something that everyone can agree on. Say, for example, funding the VA. Everyone can agree on that. I don't think, and even if someone didn't agree with that in their heart, as a politician, they would never say it publicly. So that would have passed if they did it on a piecemeal basis, as I mentioned, in terms of budget items, line items in the budget, as opposed to the omnibus bill, which is where we stand, because of the last two of the 12 pieces of the pie are being earmarked for the illegals, like you said, and so it's just one thing. It's one or two things that are holding up, the works, but they got everything, it's all intertwined, and it really shouldn't be. Again, because these people, maybe it's sloth. I know sloth is a sin, or whatever. I couldn't speak to why. I couldn't speak to why, other than the fact that a lot, look, the median age of a congressional representative, the median age is 59 years old, and the median term length in there is over 10 years. So inherently, that means you're out of touch. It means you're out of touch with the everyday American, who families and businesses nationwide, especially here in Connecticut, because of the damn taxes that we're paying, we all have to tighten our belts, tighten our budgets, and make hard decisions. I know, being in construction, I have to figure out every day how to pinch pennies, so that way all this hard work is worth, comes to some sort of profit, comes to some profitable end. Or just to make,
and especially, the materials are crazy expensive right now. It's crazy. Like anything. I was just doing renovations on one of my apartments not too long time ago in March, and I haven't really been doing a lot to my house, like, in the last 4 years. you know, like I still did a lot in 2020, but then 21, I already lost the job because shots and all this, you know. So I didn't really have a lot of money to put into renovations. And then one of my tenants just moved out. And it was not nothing crazy, not an extensive type of renovations, but I had to buy some baseboards. I had to buy a little bit of like sheetrock. I had to buy paint, right? I had to buy, to freshen up everything. It cost me $3,000 for all of it.
It
It
adds up.
was not even that big of a deal of a renovation. Yes, I did paint a lot because my woodwork, was like brown, which was original. The house is like 100 years old. And so you couldn't even clean it anymore. I would have to spend twice more trying to restore it. And I don't got that time. So I just painted everything white. And like $3,000 to just do all the work yourself, okay, and pay just 3 grand in materials for like 900 or maybe it's 1,000 square feet apartment. It's a lot. So imagine if I had to, build it from the ground up. Just a piece of a baseboard that you buy, it's like 60, 80, whatever, how much money this is. And I'm like, this is crazy. Why are these materials so expensive? I'm like, why does it cost so much money? I mean, we have a lot of trees.
It's because money is expensive.
That's true.
Without getting too deep into the rabbit hole, I can tell you, maybe not so much for trim and paint. And it doesn't. I mean, yeah, that sounds like it was expensive, but it also could have been a lot worse.
Oh yeah.
When you're talking about like the cost of housing, right? So housing is expensive for a couple of reasons. Market scarcity, because I can attest. Never mind having heard it on podcasts or on the news. I know personally of some investment properties I was looking at in the past couple of years. When I finally got my ducks in a row, they were snatched up by some blind LLC that pays cash.
New York.
And they're still vacant. They're being held for what reason? I don't know. I don't want.
So yeah. You're making money in Connecticut or actually losing on the property. Like when you wanna invest your money and keep losing money on properties, you can do that. So you can hide somewhere else. By the way.
Yes, that's very true. And so you have market scarcity, you have the cost of money itself because of inflation, which is a big driver of cost in terms of the value of the dollar plus the Fed not loosening up other rates anytime soon or by any meaningful margin. And then you have lastly the cost of materials. To your point, there's an issue with the fact that they're putting more materials, more expensive materials. They're requiring more materials. Being a licensed building, a licensed building official, I know firsthand that they are just, for example, what they adopted in 2021 for the energy code, the energy efficiency code. You had to really, really, really ramp up the amount of insulation and the type of insulation that you use to achieve some exorbitant R factors. Now, that sounds like it's good in that, and listen, I love efficiency. I think efficiency is good for business. It's good for nature, so on and so forth. However, what I don't like is that these materials, in order to achieve these high R values, the materials, so say, for example, if you start at R1 and you want to go to R2, you would think that it's not relative, the amount of money, like say, so it's not double the money, it's way more than double because these materials are still experimental. They haven't stood the test of time. No one knows what the long-term effects of, say, for example, spray foam insulation is. Super, super expensive. No one's ever looked at the feasibility of what happens 10, 20 years down the road. Does it all break apart? Are you going to be inhaling these fumes? What happens in some large apartment complex if it catches fire? What's going to happen with that? So on and so forth. So there's a lot of reasons why housing is so expensive. Building permits, because slowly but surely, building departments around the state have been increasing their fees.
That was always an issue.
So it's a lot of nickel and diming. You can't really just point to one reason. But what you can do, and that's kind of my plan. You asked me about my plan. I don't have a 1 point, a 7 point, a 300 point plan of what I want to do in Congress. What I want to do in Congress is I want what I believe, what I interpret a United States representative's job is to simply represent the people, represent my constituents, and just have a methodology, in place, saying I want to make sure that we have a smaller, leaner, less intrusive government, and whatever it takes to achieve that, I'm game. If a subcommittee of Democrats came to me and said, guess what, George, we're in favor of restoring Second Amendment rights, lowering taxes, and pulling out of foreign wars, then sign me up to vote with these Democrats all day, every day. I don't think that's going to happen, but if I'm in. I don't care. Yeah. It makes no difference to me. But I know that is what the people want. You hear it going up and down the street. Doesn't matter how anyone votes. They want to spend less money. They want to be in a safer community. They want to make Connecticut great again. It's that simple.
Yes. I'm definitely here to turn Connecticut red, and whoever I can talk to and produce any type of a podcast that is going to help people to understand that we need guys that are going to be representing us in the government, not just Congress, right? But locally and anywhere else. Whoever can make it happen for we the people, that the more money is going to stay in our pocket, and we are going to have an easier life, and we are going to be able to afford more. I'm all about it. I am not experiencing this currently in Connecticut with Democratic representatives. The money from my pocket is flowing freely, and I am not even, honestly, I have 2 jobs, and I'm like scraping sometimes, and especially during the winter, because when it's snowing, I sometimes don't go to work. My other job is not so high demand either, and it's really, really hard to make it by, even with 2 jobs. And especially that, this house, that house, it's 8 grand, 9 grand, 10 grand and a year. And it's becoming a lot more than what my mortgage is, which is crazy when you really think about it. If you take a mortgage of 30 years, just look at your statement and look if your taxes are now exceeding your actual mortgage amount. Because you're paying, let's say, $2,000 in mortgage, but $1,200 of that is that are your taxes and your homeowner's insurance, and then let's say your mortgage insurance if you have it. Then actual mortgage is like maybe $500, and that's about it. So I don't think people really do look at their statements that much. I do. I really, really do, because like my goal was investing in real estate. And that went good and bad, depending on how you really want to look at it. I mean, I am a landlord, but now when I'm really looking at everything, it was like, why did I buy in freaking Connecticut? Why? Like what? Why? But I bought it when Trump was in, and then I also bought another house that was multifamily. And the whenever you got Republicans that are in like federal office, things are rolling a little bit easier. And then when you get Democrats, it's a big problem, because what happened during COVID, they forbid the evictions. And so now, people are sitting in my house not paying, and you can't evict them. And I did not like that. That was the one thing that literally set me on fire. And I'm like, I'm going to do everything I can to bring Trump back, because this is freaking ridiculous. So people were allowed not to pay you for 10, 12 months here in Connecticut. I don't know, maybe remember, like the moratorium was going on and on and on and on forever. And I'm sitting there like, what the hell are you doing with me? Like, you want all these people, you put them somewhere, take them out of my freaking house so I can keep making money. Right. And yes, I agree. Every business got their pros and cons, but how come the government comes in and is telling me that I have to house someone for free? And this is why I need, me personally, I need Republicans, and I'm done with these Democrats. I'm done. Like, it's ridiculous what they're doing.
I couldn't agree more. And it's So getting back to what I was saying about how the government, how everyone else has to make tough choices, has to tighten their belts. That is why we need we need new blood. We need new ideas. We need, at the very least, new bodies occupying the seats in government, because they need to be held accountable. For example, when if something goes over budget, some sort of project, some sort of public works project goes over budget. Well, what do? They just keep taxing us. They just find a new tax, or they bond it. Instead of paying it off in 10 years, maybe it'll be 12 or 15, whatever the case is. That needs to change. That needs to change. And what's crazy? I was listening to actually a Rogan podcast the other day, and I forget his name. He was a whistleblower he was a CIA whistleblower under John Brennan, under Obama. Blah blah blah. We've all heard terms like the deep state. We've heard them for 10 or more years, but it's interesting. He actually painted a picture, a real good picture. The elected officials hold very little power unless they're there for longer than, say, for example, 10 years, just to pick an arbitrary number, say 10 years. The real power is in the deep state, those who are appointed, those who cannot be tossed out of their office via an election. Okay, those are the people who have the actual real power to manipulate what goes on in government, and setting monetary policy, for example, at the Fed. Again, that's another one. Those people are not elected by a body like, for example, the president is. So they have a level of insulation. To bring it back to insulation in building materials, they are insulated against the court of public opinion, and that is something else that needs to change. Whether it be setting some sort of term limit for appointed office, I really don't know what this could really, like what form this could really take, because I don't have the insight. I don't have the insight of having spent, some of these people have been in federal office longer than I've been walking the earth. I can tell you, for example, in Joe Courtney's case, he's been there 18 years at 30. I mean, he's been there since I'm 19 years old. If I had that long, if anyone had been in office that long, they'd have the insight into it, how to do, how to tweak stuff in terms of the nuts and bolts. But the issue is, when it comes down to it, it's all about methodology. If you've been there, if you've had to run a business, if you had to make a payroll, if you've had to make tough decisions about, for example, what are you going to do with tenants? How are you going to how are you going to overcome local government, getting in your way, getting on your back, having their hands in your pockets? I mean, the money doesn't even go to you. It just goes right to them, and they decide how much they let you keep. And it's not just about money, right? So all right, I'm very glad that I just remembered. The issue is not only about money. Now, yes, money allows you to, the more money you have, the more money you're allowed to keep. And I hate to phrase it that way, but it's true. The more power over your own destiny you will have. However, it's not just about money. We really need to keep that in mind. And that was another component of why I got in the race, because I'm worried about the culture war. And if anyone tells you we're not amidst the culture war, they're either lying to you or they're just simply naive. And that is, I believe firmly, that is the more important part of this whole thing, because you have your typical New England Republican, or maybe not typical. I don't think typical is the right word. Let's say historical. You have your historical Connecticut Republican who says, "Oh, I'm fiscally liberal. I'm fiscally conservative, but I'm socially, I'm socially liberal," and that's a very deadly danger in my book, because that means that they're only concerned about their 401k. They're only worried about their investment portfolio.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, what does that mean? Like,
what it doesn't mean is they're not concerned about preserving individual rights as guaranteed in the
exactly.
For
so
example,
they're selfish. Yeah.
The Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, in terms of it's on the tip of my tongue. It's something having to do with unlawful search and seizure. Thank you. All these things. And if we lose the culture war, it's not going to matter how much money you have. I can tell you there's a lot of, I'm sure being from the Eastern Bloc, I know that my family knows, being from Mexico, there's always, throughout history, over and over and over again, you have You have free societies. Maybe Iran's another example. You have free societies that are prosperous. A dictator comes to power, appropriates everyone's funds. First they take the money, then they take the freedom, and then it's all done. It's all kaput. And if we don't worry about the culture war or the cultural aspect, the cultural implications that these elections have, I think the money is secondary. Really, I really do. I don't know what, how much freedom you can't. Because you can't buy freedom. You can't put a price on freedom, because once you lose the Second Amendment, once you lose your freedom of speech,
you're done. Basically, we can't do anything.
And it's that simple. I mean, look, where are we going to go? Everyone comes here. Winston Churchill said, "You can the measure of society is, or you measure a society, you measure a country by observing how many people want in versus how many people want out." And it's that simple. You have a massive influx of illegal immigration in Europe, just like you do here, except Poland, right? they really got their act together. But the point is, if they were closer to us, they'd be coming here. And it's we got to do something. We have so many problems, and all these problems are self-inflicted. And there's not just a 1-point plan, a 7-point plan, 6,000-point plan. It's just America first. Take care of our own first. Make sure we preserve our way of life, and the rest will take itself out. I don't think it's easy, but I think it is simple. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm. I think it really starts with people's principles and people's values, and how much free do they really want to be,
Mm-hmm.
because certain laws, for example, here in Connecticut, and that is strictly because of our governor, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So I pay taxes, right, on my real estate. So I pay for people to be able to send their kids to school, right? Public schools. And now here's the problem. If I had a kid and did not vaccinate that child, there is no freaking way I can send that kid to school that I'm paying for. And here's the problem. It all depends how much free you really want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because keep electing those people that are restricting your freedoms because they think that they can decide about your health and decide if you're actually going to send the kid to school or not. I mean, that's way too much for me. And if you're not letting me send my kid to school because he's or her is not vaccinated, then why am I paying $10,000 in taxes to pay for education, to pay for teachers, to pay for their pensions, if I'm never going to actually use that access to that system? I don't think that's fair to me,
It's not. It's not, and I'm gonna give you some bad news, Agnes. The reason why that happens is because there's not enough of us to stand up to them to make that change.
I know. We gotta be more aggressive.
And if there were enough of us, well, we're not doing anything about it. And that's another thing. What good are all these ideas if you don't act on them? What are good are, again, coming back to what I was saying, what good is all the money if you don't have any freedom?
Yeah, exactly.
That's more important. I think we need to win the cultural war. We have to make sure we keep our Constitution intact, get back to America as founded. And, again, the rest will shake itself out, because the smaller the government, the more locally concentrated the power is in terms of government, the less money it'll cost. And what's interesting? I think there's another side to this shutdown that we should really be thinking about.
Yeah.
When it's over. See, right now everyone's making a lot of noise about SNAP.
Yeah, of course.
Noise about the TSA agents and the maybe the vets who aren't getting paid. I know a buddy of mine. He actually works in the Pentagon. He's a career Air Force, and I know he's not getting paid. But I think when we come out of this, we're going to notice something. Because guess what? Everyone's boo-hooing about all these federal workers who are furloughed or not getting paid. But guess what? They're all going to get every single penny.
Yes, they're going to get back pay.
Sooner or later. Whereas in our case, because we're not government employees, that wouldn't be the case. Now, I just don't want to lose this train of thought. When we're done, when this is all over and all the dust settles, all the accounts are settled, I really hope someone pays attention to how many of these government employees were never essential to begin with, because I don't see fire and brimstone coming down from the sky. I don't see portals to the ninth dimension opening up. I don't see trains falling out of the sky and planes being derailed. I know I said that on purpose backwards because it's funny, or at least I thought it was. I don't see any of these catastrophes happening. So what that tells me is there's a lot of cuts and a lot of fat that we can trim out of our federal workforce. And I hope that someone is paying attention to that, because after this is all over, that would be a great place for Doge to resume its work.
You're right. You're right about that. And what's funny, I've been raging about this on Facebook, and a lot of people actually comments that is the two situations are completely different, but they're not really different for me at this point, because I'm the person who lost 6 months of income during COVID, and I'm talking a lot because I also do cleaning services, and guess what? In March, oh, we're gonna take 2 weeks break. Oh, Agnes don't come to work, and Agnes don't come to work was 6 months. Agnes don't come to work. Obviously I try to supplement that a little bit differently and do other things. But when it comes to my cleaning service, after the assessment, it's 30 grand. Okay. And no one cared at that point if I was going to have food on my table or not.
No, they didn't.
Okay. So now with the SNAP situation, oh, because we're dealing with the poorest people, they're not going to have food on their table. And I'm like, they will have food on the table just a little bit later. You're going to have to figure it out, on your own. How are you going to get food if a week or 2 weeks the government's still not going to open? But no one worried about me or anybody else under the Emergency Power Act of thousands or if not million of people losing their jobs and not having a way of making money because they didn't get a COVID shot. No one worried about that. Democrats didn't fucking worry about that. They didn't care. No. I lost my job because I was also doing elderly care in 2021, and what Lamont did, he literally set me off with no job. First, I lost my cleaning houses. And then second, I lost my elderly care job. Because why? Because I didn't want to get vaccinated. And Lamont said, if any employer is going to hire an employee for the agency that is dealing any kind of elderly care or like house assistance or anything like that, they're going to have to pay daily $20,000. So guess what? I'm not vaccinated. So all of a sudden, I'm out. Did anyone ever worried if I gonna have money to put, to buy food with? Twice no. They fucked me. They fucked me twice, literally. And this is why I hate Lamont, and I will do everything that it's in my power to get rid of him from the government. He needs to go. There's no way he's gonna do a third term. There's no freaking way. There's no way. I'll do what I need to do. I'll go bullhorn. I go around, talk to people. I don't care what I gotta do. I don't want to live in this state anymore if it's still blue. It's terrible. For me, last 4 years under Democrats were the worst of my life in the United States. The worst. They took so much money, and Obama too. Because what Obama did, oh, you have to have a healthcare. He shut down the freaking government and passed a stupid freaking healthcare. Now guess what? I gotta go and buy freaking healthcare insurance, and that was $400 a month. Now I pay $700 a month. So like, come on now. That is crazy. But if you want to have a certain type of coverage for your health, because I picked what I really needed for myself, it's $700, and then it has $5,000 deductible. Because I work for myself, I am not able to get a deal. Like I don't really have employees that I'm gonna go out, and get like insurance for them, and the insurance company is gonna give me a deal.
Right.
Like they did not thought about just single people that are entrepreneurs and maybe they have an employee or two. They gotta pay outrageous money for healthcare. No matter what, if the Democrats wanted to, still pay for illegals or whatever, now I guess it's gonna go for more because guess what? Insurance companies are gonna lose out on all these immigrants, that are illegal. So now what's gonna be my insurance? 2 grand a month? I mean, like, come on. This has got to be something done about this because this is supposed to be the greatest country in the whole entire world, and people have no access to healthcare because of the prices. It's bad now. If you think that Trump is going to, oh my God, it's gonna go so bad. No, it's been bad. Last 4 years, 5 years have been bad.
It has. You're absolutely
Sorry,
right.
I went on a rant, but I'm really upset about all this.
No, you should be. We all should be so enthusiastic about our convictions, and unfortunately, a lot are not. They'll just kind of go with the flow, and that's kind of. I think that was the ultimate objective of those vaccine mandates, were to just kind of put a little pilot program, if you will, into effect to see how many are going to go with the flow, how many are going to really buy in to the whole mob mentality that I'd be remiss if I did not point out. Kind of sounds like 1930s Germany now, doesn't it? Kind of does.
Yeah, it's just the hypocrisy, the hypocrisy. You're blaming Republicans now because people are not going to have a food on their table. What about the millions over COVID that you fucked? And I was one of them. Okay, you took money out of my pocket, and I felt that for a very long time, and I still did not really recover from all of this. And I'm just like, no one worried about those people that had to quit their job because the shot was mandated by their employers. And government says, oh yeah, that's fine. Like that's against the Constitution. No one should have to go get a shot to keep their paycheck. Like it's crazy. And now everything that's been actually released about those vaccinations, it's a shame. It's a shame for everyone who did not push back.
I agree. I don't believe in the government outlawing anything, and I don't believe in the government mandating anything.
Yes, exactly.
In terms of healthcare, I should say that they shouldn't be forcing anything out of you. They shouldn't be forcing anything into you.
No, because they're not going to be responsible for the side effects. If something happens to me, who's going to be responsible? An employer?
No.
Exactly. So how the hell are you telling me that I have to get vaccinated to keep my job? Like I am so upset with this, and I really hate Democrats to the core for doing this to people. And
Right.
I really, really would love for Americans to stand up and finally show some balls. And I know finally Trump won. I was praying, man. I was gonna leave this country if he didn't get it. Like literally, I couldn't take another 4 years of this shit.
We might not have had a country after that, honestly. And,
I know that's a whole another topic, but
I'll tell you something that's crazy. So
yeah.
I remember back to the 90s. Back to the Clinton years, because I was too young. I don't remember the H.W. Bush. So I'm remembering back to the Clinton years in the late 90s as W. Bush took office, and I don't remember there being fire drill after fire drill after fire drill. That every election was the most important of everyone's life. That we were one midterm election. Now we're one presidential election. Now we're one midterm election away from losing our country. It was never like that, and now it is. And I'm just wondering where does this all lead to, right? Where does this all lead to? And I very much believe, Agnes, that we're finally seeing a cultural shift. I want to get back to this culture thing. It's more important because at the end of the day, the court of public opinion renders verdicts and takes action much quicker en masse than courts of law. Okay, so what I like to observe is this is something actually that I do in my pitch. I observe that for example, my path to victory relies heavily on voter outreach, with particular regard to, for example, Gen Zs. Pew Research shows that Gen Zs in the 18 to 24 demographic in 2016, the Dems held a 30-point lead over us. Last year, that was whittled down to 19%. Amongst Hispanics in 2020, the Dems held an 18-point lead. No, sorry, also 19-point lead over us. Last year, we flipped that, and now we hold a 2-point advantage. These are two huge, huge data points showing us that, as I like to say, the pendulum of history is actually starting to swing back in our favor. But we got to help that. It is inevitable, but we got to not get in the way. We can't get in the way of it. And it's very encouraging. It's very encouraging to think that maybe I've been saying this. I started this my campaign in June. I didn't officially announce. I didn't file papers or officially announce until August. I wanted to explore. I've been going around to RTC, seeing how my message worked, if people wanted to hear more or what have you. And that's been going really well. But when you have, I've been saying this since before the assassination, and now in the wake of it, I'm going to tell you something. These kids, everyone says that these kids won't come out to vote. Yeah, they will. These kids are primed to be the most conservative generation walking the streets of America per capita since the greatest of generations. We don't have enough of them left anymore. But if we embrace them, we have to show them that their priorities will be our priorities. Because guess what? Their priorities are everyone's priorities, are the common man's priorities. They want to get out and start their adult life, Agnes. And their dollar is worth shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Opportunity. There's opportunity out there, but it's not happening fast enough. And guess what? These kids, they had to live through the COVID lockdowns. Okay. My older son, he graduated in 2019. He was lucky. His younger friends in 2020 had to graduate through a motorcade and get their damn diplomas through a garbage bag.
Yeah, I know. That was terrible.
My younger son, George, I was coaching football. I was coaching his youth football team. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm not sure what you know about American football, but we were stacked. We were going to win a champion. I'm 100% sure we were going to win a championship. Intramural sports got the Knicks. How many kids lost scholarships as a result of athletic seasons, so on and so forth. These kids have had DEI shoved down their throats their entire lives. Maybe at the beginning it didn't have a title of DEI on it, but it was always there. Hate yourself, hate your country, hate each other. For whatever reason, because they just want to see us separate. They being, I don't know who they is, and I really would rather not start to brainstorm, because it'll just take too much time, really. But it really seems like it's by design to divide us and therefore conquer us. And these kids are waking up. They're waking up, and I believe that they're actually showing the rest of us. They are initiating the Great Awakening, as it's been called. So I'm
why?
I'm very encouraged.
I think everyone is just tired of a woke mind virus. Everyone's tired of it.
Right.
Like, whenever I talk to someone or look at anything that's going on, really honestly, and they start bringing all this craziness with rainbows and and I'm gonna make it clear, I really don't care what you're doing in your bedroom, but don't put that on me.
I agree.
And so with that being said, I also think, thanks to Charlie Kirk and what he was doing, I think the family unit has been brought back. And the family unit, I'm talking about a man and a woman, and in particular, men wanting to have a family and kids, because it was hard, to really find someone. For the women, for myself, I can say I know a lot of women that would love to, have a wedding, have kids, have family. But for the men, for a very long time there, family was not really that appealing. They didn't really want to get involved into raising kids and stuff like that. And I think because of Charlie, we are bringing this back now, and I'm really happy about that. Man or woman, I'm gonna say it again. So woke mind virus, I call it, and a lot of people call it. I think we're tired of it. We're done with it. You had your era, and you need to go.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. It's it really seems to be very cumulative. Why would you have, to what end, I ask you, to what end? And I'm not really expecting an answer, because the prospect of having this answer is too scary. But to what end would you have men want to, or why would you want to motivate men to be less masculine? Why
Yeah.
would you want kids, especially male kids, but kids, period, to self mutilate, to self doubt, to self hate, to the point of self mutilation, so as that they would be irreparably damaged and therefore unable to procreate? Why would you want kids to want to hate themselves as a result of their identity, or as a result of their nationality, which is American? To what end is all this? I dare not guess, because any answer I come up with is going to be something I don't like.
I
But
mean, I can come up with
that's a
the
common
answer.
theme. It's a common theme. Why would all this coincide with the what seems to be the apex of the rise of feminism? Um, I mean, women's equality and women's rights kind of were on the uptick, and then as a result of not COVID, sorry, of the woke mind virus, now they're kind of going down again. We wanted to back with the civil rights movement in the '60s. We ended segregation, we integrated, and now there's a movement to bring segregation back. It all seems like it's by design, and I just don't know where is this gonna end, unless enough of us wake up, enough of us push back, and really, really take our country back, take our culture back. We need to establish a unified culture again. That's how we make America great again. Is by bringing ourselves together again, to love America again, to get back to building America again. And there's just no other way. And again, I don't think this is going to be easy, but I do think it's simple. We just have to have all our ships have to sail in one direction, and assume it. And if we're all heading in that direction, we can't fail.
Sometimes I do travel, right? And then so people ask me where am I from, and usually that's a really tough question because I do not know if they're referring to my accent or are they referring because I'm speaking English. And I always say like originally or now. And then well now, and then I say, United States. And then they will be like, "Oh, United States," and then you start talking to people and then they ask me a question. So what is actually a culture of United States? And I'm just like,
What is it
what,
not?
what,
What it's supposed to be?
what is it? And sometimes I scratch my head because, I've been here since 2007 and my adulthood life basically was here, in United States. And, immigration is a huge topic that touches me personally,
Sure.
and the way how everything really is right now and how I feel about certain things. But
Sure.
whenever someone asks me what is America's culture, and I'm just like, huh. Because whenever you ask what's Poland's culture, like we're Roman Catholic, we big on religion, we're big on this and big on that, and love pierogies, whatever, cooking this and that, and then someone asks me what's the American culture. Sometimes I really don't know what to answer. Like, are we the culture of transgenders? Like, what is our culture? Like, it's
That's a
been
very
changing.
That's a very interesting question. I hadn't really thought about it in those terms, but if I had to guess, I would say maybe we have a culture of work, culture of consumerism, culture of opportunity. We are big on. We used to be big on barbecues and ball games.
Yeah.
Now it's debt. We are a culture of debt.
Yeah, I know, and it hurts me really because back in Poland when I was 16 years old, I always wanted to go to United States and live here. And I thought this country was so freaking great. I'm gonna be rich here. The dollars are, on the ground or on the trees, and it was gonna be so amazing. And I always now tell people if I was going to research and today make the decision about coming to this country, I'm a little disappointed because those taxes, they're not really giving you much. They're really not. They're not giving you daycares. They're not giving you free education. Your college costs so much money. They're not giving you health care for free, which a lot of countries do. Maybe you wait in a line a lot longer, but when you finally get there, it's free. And so, and I'm thinking, if I'm not going to make millions here, how my life here is going to really be when I'm old?
I hope you got some kids.
You think they're going to want to take care of me? I don't know. I don't really feel like American kids are really taking care of their parents really that much. I mean, listen, I've been doing elderly care for quite some time, and I don't really see too many kids taking care of their parents, So
No, it's-
that's a question mark. I mean, we do that in Poland, and
I know.
from my stand here, I always help my parents. I always help them financially. I have never ever ever one time took money from my parents for anything. Not that even their money would mean anything here in America. If they were sending it from Poland, it's like almost nothing. And like for me, it's better because my financial situation, here comparing to theirs in Poland is a lot better. And, I have the means to be able to help them just because of the currency if I needed to send them money for
Okay.
caregivers or anything else. But, my responsibility is to take care of my parents. I have never one time in my life thought that my parents have to give me anything.
Right.
I have never asked them for money for school. I have never asked them for money for weddings. They never gave me down payment on a house. And, I'm kind of like, I have a lot of friends around here. And whenever I talk to them, it's like their parents cover their down payment on the house. I was like, oh, shit, must be nice. Oh, my parents paid for my college, 100 grand, they take equity or HELOC, or something, they're paid for my college. Oh, and I'm like, oh, it must be nice. But no, I'm actually ambitious enough to not to be taking other people's money, even if they are my parents, because I believe that, they need to take care of themselves when they're older. Like, why would I be taking away money from my parents? It's just crazy. But I feel here people doing that, and they don't have the responsibility of taking care of their elders. It's kind of a little sad. I don't know, but that's my experience. I'm not sure what's yours. Like you're a little mixed there with a different culture. So I'm not sure how it works for you there. But uh, Americans, I'm a little disappointed.
That those are all real good points, and I'll tell you what, you kind of bummed me out a little bit with that one. You kind of
Uh,
bummed me out a little bit about what it means to be an American. I will say this though, what it means to be, I would suggest that if you ask 10 people from Mexico what it means to be Mexican, I'm not sure what they would answer, but they probably have a similar answer
yeah,
from one to the next. So I would say maybe perhaps the same thing from someone in Poland. If you took 10 random Poles and asked them what did it mean to be Polish, I won't even try to guess what their answer would be, but I'm gonna guess it'd probably be one to the next would be very similar. Here in America, it's very different. We take people from any culture without really, I mean, we're supposed to, and we really would like them to assimilate to ours, but we take them on masse and so quickly. I'm not sure that that's really feasible. say for example, in Minnesota and in Michigan, you have Muslim calls to prayers. Okay, great, cool. Whatever. That's what they want to do. It is what it is. But the point I'm making is that they don't do that everywhere. They don't do that in every state. Some states, we're a nation founded on Judeo-Christian values, and I'm not sure that a lot of people really know what that means to be founded in Judeo-Christian values and what those values really were at the time of the founding, or what those values are maybe even now. So the point of my ramble was, I'm not sure that American culture can be categorized so generally.
Yeah, and embraced, really, to be honest.
Because you have so many different experiences, because our nation is huge. Our nation is immense in size. We are United States. We are not one federalist nation. We are a group of United States. And each state has its own subculture. For example, what you do in Maine in December is not the same thing as you do in Texas in December. It's not the same thing you see in Hawaii in December.
Mm-hmm.
They're drastically different cultures from one state to the next, from one demographic to the next. So what would you say about American culture? I would say it is diverse. It is not boring. We are not a boring nation. I'll tell you that right now. And American culture could stand some room. We have some room for improvement. That's for sure. We definitely have some room for improvement.
I think the part of what you just said, that the culture is not really one, is also because people are so divided here. We are so divided that people literally hate each other. If you're a Democrat and you are a Republican, there is hate in between those two, to the point where even violence happens, which I don't know if you can see that in any other country, but like when I'm thinking about Europe, for example, or any other country, there is no like two political parties that hate each other really that much. And also I don't even know, do they teach Pledge of Allegiance at school anymore?
Yeah.
They do? Okay, so at least they stayed with that, but there is no like religion in school, correct? And they used to was, and they took that completely out. Is that true? I don't really have kids, so I don't know how it works here.
So
But
that's interesting. I'd like to address that if we have a second. I want to address that. The separation of church and state is not in the Constitution. That was in the Federalist Papers, or that was a topic that was covered in the Federalist Papers, I want to say. But it's not in the Constitution, because really in the Constitution you have, just for one of the many compilations of wisdom that are in there, that all men are created equal. Created, meaning that there is an inference of a creator. When state constitutions were ratified, they had to be they all required a declaration of faith. So there is a commonality. There is a commonality, at least at the time of the founding. And in terms of fast forwarding to today, there is definitely they do still pledge allegiance in most places. I can't speak to every place everywhere. And again, and it's very interesting when you say a religion in school, because there was a time when when prayer was not only allowed but encouraged in school. And I'm not here to say one way or the other, but I can observe this. I'm not here to say that one way or the other is better or worse. What I will say is you can observe, or you can at least deduce logically, that if there once was room for family values and religious values in school, and you remove those, if they were already there to start and you remove them, well, then you leave a hole, you leave a void in that space, whether it be of a disciplinary nature, of a moral nature. And the question that I raise then is, if there's a void, then what has filled it? And the only answer I come up with is the state. And that's scary. That's scary to think that, ultimately the goal, maybe not outright, not explicitly written, but what is implied is that the Department of Education might want to have some sort of a de facto reign of authority or ultimate power from a moral standpoint over your kids, and that's scary. I mean, all this is scary, and I just wish we got to get back to family values. My whole platform is family, future, and family, freedom, in the future. Because
Mhm.
because without family, what do we need freedom for? And without both of those, we have no future.
You know what else? I have a little bit of a problem, and that's funny because I'm Polish, and I'm 100% Polish, and I came here, and I'm really kind of a lot more patriotic for America than I am for Poland anymore. Because I don't live there, I don't pay taxes there, I don't know what's going on there really, unless I read something about it. My life is here, and I'm a citizen of this country, so I actually have a dual citizenship. But I definitely care about United States a lot, but I think America tends to a lot of different religions at a lot of different other people's values. They care way too much about what everyone else wants, than what their own is. What
Mhm.
about if I'm moving here from Poland, right? We have a little bit of a different like habit or whatever, a little bit differently we are doing our Christmas in Poland. So Christmas in Poland is really 3 days.
Okay.
So the 24th is actually the most important day. You will have dinner and you will have gifts then, and then the 25th, yeah, the 25th is considered a holiday, and also the 26th is considered a holiday, which does not happen here.
Nope.
So now you have all these crazy Polish people around here, right? And there's a lot in Connecticut, New
Yeah.
York, Chicago, Illinois. And then imagine this, that we're going to come in and demand from the government that we want our 26th to be a holiday because that's how we do it. And imagine that the government is actually going to give in and do this. Like they establish plenty of like Jewish holidays, in a calendar. Now all of a sudden they're free from work. And I'm like, wait a second. Like, whoa, 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 hold on. So we're not doing this American way. We're doing this everyone else's way because we want to please everyone else, but like forget about real Americans.
That's what it
And this
seems
is
like.
a problem.
It is. It's a
This is
real.
a problem.
It is. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. Well, you know what? Let's get back to where I was saying earlier. To what end would you want to take the fight out of, or the rebellious spirit, maybe? Or I'm not sure how I want to phrase that, but why would you want to? All right, why would you want to declaw, or why would you want to neuter your country's males? Could it be
Well,
to?
that's a whole another. Listen, I do not understand
Well,
what the hell is going on with these guys wearing these skinny jeans. Like, please, for
I,
God's sakes,
I
like,
meant
save me,
I meant
save
from a
me.
cultural standpoint, Agnes. I'm talking about from a cultural standpoint. Say, for example, so you say toxic. Everyone. A popular phrase that came out of nowhere was toxic masculinity. What does this mean? Okay, you want. I guess maybe the point is to encourage or to bully men to be more docile, to be more passive and less aggressive. Well, then if that's the case, then that might explain why it may be a large contributor to the reason why no one is fighting for American values. Why when you have the demands, as you like to as you called out, which is a tremendous observation, by the way. When you have people coming here making demands, well then I would ask, why come here and make demands if it was so great where you came from? You should stay there.
Exactly, and
And
that's
I have
that's a
no
big
problem saying
problem.
that. Because I'll tell you something, Agnes. My dad hopped the border 6 times. My dad wasn't illegal. He was caught 6 times by the same guy. At least
Really?
that's the way he tells the story, anyways. Who's
Wow.
6 times by the same guy? All within 1 year. 1 year.
How
And
long time ago was that? Like,
that
what
was
was the year?
that was in '85.
85. Okay.
That was in '85. He met my mom, and I was born right before, or they got married, and he was in naturalization proceedings before Reagan's amnesty. And then like so he was in process. His application for residency was being processed when
The amnesty
amnesty
came.
occurred. Right. All right. It's that's a lot to keep track of. But I don't have. And look, in between that and up here in North Central Connecticut, every time there's what I like to call a new arrival, I know about it, and I know about it because a lot of them come to me because I'm in construction.
Oh yeah.
Being a contractor. Look, let
You
me tell
pick
you this.
them up from Home Depot still.
No, not quite. Not quite. Not quite. The moral of the story, though, is that I hear stories, and the stuff that you hear on the news, by and large, is true. And it's not a matter of tolerance. It's not a matter of hate. It's not a matter of any of these talking points that the Dems like to use on TV. It's more a matter of we need to have borders in order to have a sovereign nation. Even Bernie was on the news. He was on some podcast. He made the news the other day of saying that he was giving accolades to Trump for doing a good job on the border, and he agrees that we need strong borders. And I agree with that wholeheartedly because I'll tell you what, my mother-in-law, my wife is also from Mexico. My mother-in-law couldn't get her. She had her visitor visa denied recently.
That happens. Yeah.
And it's from some arbitrary reason. And for those who are watching who don't know this, it is 100% at the first stage. As you know, Agnes, there are multiple stages of approval. At the first stage, it is the interviewer. The interviewer could literally, and she could put in they could put in their official report, I denied their visa application because I didn't like the hat they were wearing. And that stands until you make it to an appeal, or you simply you submit a new application in the next year, in the next calendar year, whatever. Our system is broken, and it needs to be fixed. We need to have strong borders. We need to have more. So we need to funnel people into ports of entry, but we need to have more of them. We need to quicken the pace, and we need to be, but also at the same time, we need to be more selective about who we let in. We need to have people from cultures that are congruent to our own culture. And if they're not from, and if they're from an incongruous, if they're from a different culture, then they need to be asked point blank, and they bear the burden of proof to prove that they want to assimilate to our culture. And we need to put a limit on how many we do within a certain time span, so on and so forth, instead of just opening borders. Because I'm going to tell you what, I invite anyone to spend a couple hours at any rest stop along the Mass Pike, along 95, 395. I mean, there's not too many. 84 west of Hartford, 91 south of Hartford. If you spend some time at a rest area, a couple hours, you will witness human trafficking.
Yes.
A couple of times. And I don't mean a couple of illegal immigrants just passing through. I'm talking about active human, maybe child trafficking. And this is a direct result of the Democrats' border policy.
Open borders. Yeah.
Of open borders. I know it's happening in Europe. I'm sure you know that. I think it's fair to say that I think that most of Europe has fallen. And we're damn close. And again, it's about a methodology. We need to send people to Congress or to any office, for that matter, who are interested in fixing problems instead of prolonging problems. I mean, if you think about it, why would anyone in a government office fix a problem? Because they can just keep getting reelected to offices and positions of prestige if they never fix their problems that they're sent there to fix. If they just keep pointing the fingers from the left to the right and the right to the left, if they don't fix a problem, then they're never going to get out of office. It seems like a real nice way to set up some job security.
I notice for a lot of people it's a game of benefits. Why are they applying for these jobs? Also, game of benefits for the military or army or whatever you want to call it. Guys who are extremely young applying for to go to be deployed. Basically, they have no clue that they are completely dependent on the government that's going to get in. That's the first thing. They are going to the war because they want benefits, and they think that army, military, whatever you call it, they gonna take care of them, and they are not going in for the right reasons. And also the same with the politicians. Sometimes with the law enforcement, some people in law enforcement are terrible. They don't really uphold the Constitution. They swear an oath, but they don't really care. They just went because they wanted the benefits, and
Right.
they're not really made for that job. And I want to say the same about the politicians. I really am having an extremely hard time seeing, current representatives that we have in Congress, that they really want anything to do with the people. Because trust me, I've called Johanna Hayes multiple times. When I was talking about the Emergency Power Act, I tried to contact her. Nothing. Emails, phone calls, don't matter. They are literally just sitting there and they're pretending that they're doing something. But I haven't really seen what I would like for them to do. They're not doing.
Right.
So I'm all about picking new people, and I'm all about picking young people that understand what it means to actually start a family, to actually buy a house nowadays. Okay, 2,000 square feet house, $500,000.
Yeah, I
Your
know.
down payment, 100 grand. Your mortgage, insurance, and taxes, 4 grand.
$4 grand. Yeah. It's
There goes a month of your hard work going away to mortgage, taxes, insurance. And what about the rest? Whatever you're heating your house with, oil, craziness, dependent on the government.
I know.
And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I mean, we can't live like this. We need to do something. We need to let people get in and change something. 2007, Joe Courtney. We're done. We're done with you, Joe. Like, you can just go, you can collect your benefits, and live happily ever after. You're 75 years old. You've done your job, and actually I did read about him a little bit. He was not really that bad. And I'm thinking, because the Democratic Party used to, a long time ago, like 30 years ago plus, was not really that bad. They turned like this. And now, whenever they're electing someone new, like Johanna Hayes, she's terrible, man. She's terrible. Like, how can you vote to defend law enforcement? Like, for God's sakes, And then I did find a couple things about Joe Courtney. I couldn't really find a lot of bad things about him, that I could say that 100% I didn't like, but let me just put something in here. Someone else has put this video. Okay, where is it?
So while you're finding that, Agnes, I'll just make the comment that it's not only 100% about Joe Courtney himself. You have,
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So there you go. I'll wait. Go ahead.
Yeah, hold on. But no, I lost it. There we go.
Is your member of Congress a piece of shit? Let's find out. Today we're going to be grading the financial integrity of Joe Courtney from Connecticut's 2nd Congressional District. All right, so he's been in office since 2007. Last cycle of the $1.3 million that he raised, 51% of those funds came from PACs, 13% of those funds came from small individual donations, while 35% of those funds came from large individual donations. Moving to his personal finances, Joe Courtney was one of the members of Congress who traded stocks and profited during the COVID-19 pandemic. However, currently, he does not hold any individual stock. Instead, his estimated net worth of $1.7 million is held mostly in mutual funds and ETFs. Moving back to his campaign finances, he received a decent chunk of corporate funds last cycle, receiving over $150,000 from 33 different corporate PACs. This includes max donations from the corporate PACs of Boeing, Cigna, Leonardo DRS, General Dynamics, Huntington Ingalls, Honeywell International, L3Harris, Northrop Grumman, and TTM Technologies. And yes, a lot of these are defense contractors, and he is on the Armed Services Committee. Now, I'm going to be real, this score was surprising to me. It is true that he doesn't trade any individual stocks anymore, and that his corporate PAC funds are on the lower side. But overall, Rep. Joe Courtney gets a D. Is your member of Congress?
He got a D.
You got a D. I like that. That's good. That's really good.
Wow, I thought it was so funny, but also,
So you know
I
what?
mean,
This is a very good opportunity, Agnes. So just give me a second here. He has this image of being Mr. Middle of the Road.
yes.
He's most certainly not. He does occasionally, very, very occasionally, surprise us with a vote going the right way, if you will.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'll tell you who breaks ranks more than he does: Thomas Massey, Rand Paul, Ron Paul, so on and so forth. There are several others who break ranks much more often.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, you have to do what your constituents want. And yes, it makes sense that he's getting those. It only makes sense to a certain degree. It does make sense that he's getting those contributions from those PACs because, again, of where he sits. Because that in my district, we do have a large national defense industry, which, again, to a certain extent is great. No problem. These are big employers, big job drivers in the state. A lot of innovation, so on and so forth. They're contributing to our national, security. All these things are great. But getting back, this is really going to come full circle now. When we mentioned earlier about, say, that post that JD put up a couple days ago about how, and I was mentioning about how a little over 40% of Connecticut and New England at large is registered R. A little over 40%. There's no representation. That's why he needs to go. He needs to go because he's been there too long, which means at best case he is stale and ineffective. Worst case, he has been corrupted and very, very biased, and therefore not only ineffective but negative, having a net negative effect for the state. That he needs to go because we need to have a catalyst that will initiate a change in leadership from the Democrat Party, which has ruled over Connecticut with impunity for almost 20 years. Almost 20 years they have ruled with absolute authority, and the state is in shambles as a result. So what he needs to atone for, unfortunately, he needs to atone for his party. He needs to atone for going along. He has been complacent. Therefore, he is complicit with things like the auto pen, with Sleepy Joe, with the border, right? Not speaking, unlike Fetterman, all right? John Fetterman, to his credit, he is breaking ranks because he's voting his conscience. He wants to be America first instead of Democrats first. He believes in the people as opposed to the party. Joe Courtney is not as courageous as he. That is why he needs to go. And that is what he will atone for. He will atone for his party leadership. He will atone for his voting record. He will atone for all of it. And you know what? He may not be that bad. There may be others that are worse. There may be others in our state there are others in our state that are worse. But you got to start somewhere. And sometimes you can't start with the worst. But you got to start somewhere, because if we can take one seat, maybe next cycle we'll take another. And then maybe the election after that we'll take another. Maybe during all these cycles, maybe we'll take governor. Maybe we'll take governor, lieutenant governor, etc. Maybe we'll take Senate. Maybe that's how it starts. And that is the purpose. People say, yeah, he's not so okay. I disagree, but why not? Sure. For the sake of conversation, yeah, maybe he's not so bad. His party is that bad. And again, he was complacent. Therefore, he is complicit. Therefore, he must atone for these transgressions. And that's why. That's why he's got to go. And that's why he will go, because we are going to win. We're going to win. And here's how I know, Agnes, because we need to. We need to like we never have needed to before. And
Yes, I agree.
that's why we're going to do it. Throughout human history, people don't tend to change unless they're on the precipice, unless need and desperation and necessity are in abundance. When abundancy it becomes scarce. When all these things kind of coalesce and finally come all together, that's when we change. That's when change happens, I should say. That's when change happens. And in this case, it'll be the voting patterns of the people of Connecticut. And this will just happen to, and my district will just happen to be the first place. It's just coincidence that it's me.
Yeah, I definitely wish that you win this, George. I really do. I really like you, and it seems like we both stand for the same values, and principles. And I believe that, and I tell that to people every single time that I do podcast. If Republicans win Connecticut, this is going to help my mental health. Because I have been angry for a very long time, and I've been complaining for a very long time, about what's going on here. And I have been planning to have kids in this state, because I can't just, maybe I could just sell everything, leave, and go to some other Republican state, but I'm kind of surrounded, with Polish community here. It's kind of cool, I'm not going to lie. And everywhere else I'm gonna go, I'm not gonna be able to buy my mayonnaise, and I do not like.
I'm sorry?
I'm not gonna be able to buy mayonnaise, Polish mayonnaise.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Which I don't ever buy American mayonnaise for some reason. I just cannot get over the fact that I do love Polish mayonnaise, and I do use it a lot. But it's just hard. It's just hard to change your life and and go somewhere where you're gonna have to build from scratch, basically.
From scratch, yeah.
Yeah, because it's not like I can just get a job at McDonald's and survive. I would have to open my business again, find clients, and that's going to take time and everything. So I would very much love for Connecticut to turn red. And I do believe that we are purple, because I did talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people are like, how come we have so many Republicans? We don't go around and talk to people. They have the same principles as you. And I'm
Right.
just like, what is going on here? I mean, certain areas like West Hartford, those are Democrats. Hartford, those are Democrats. Bridgeport and Stamford, those are Democrats. But everyone else, basically, where you go, and everywhere else where those flag waves are happening, you get so many hugs and people are waving and happy, and the middle fingers are not really that often. And then I looked at No Kings protesting, and some of the videos of people that are posted them on social media. I did not really hear that many honks. I was listening. I scoured those pictures and videos. I'm like, I gotta get to the bottom of this. This is Connecticut really, 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 really democratic. And then I also the other day had a podcast with the lady about the Connecticut new machines that for voting. They purchase new machines and stuff like that. So I was going through voting fraud, and what I discovered is people that were sentenced and charged with fraud, with a voting fraud,
Yeah.
they're all Democrats in Connecticut.
Yeah, they
Democratic.
are. Yeah, they
So
are.
I'm like, hold on a second. Hold on a second, because that doesn't really make sense. Would
Sure
you
it does.
think it would be the other way around? Like the party that can't win would have those people trying to cheat instead of the winning party cheating? Like,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
wouldn't that make sense? I mean, in my brain at least, I would think we are not winning here, so Republicans would try. But no, all of them, every single one that they found, and they charged people, and found them guilty, was Democrats. And I'm just like, are we really that democratic here? Do we really want a governor that is taking millions of dollars out of our pockets with public benefit? Imagine there is 3 million people in Connecticut. If every single person pays $10 of public benefit, that's $30 million. And they do pay more than that because my public benefit is more. Obviously, 3 million people probably don't have accounts with Eversource and C&G or whatever your gas company is.
Mhm.
But even if it's just 1.5 million, okay? Let's say those are the adults that have accounts, your homeowners or whatever. Charge them $10 every single month. How much money that is?
It's a lot.
Where this is money going where?
Well, what's interesting is I remember I've heard the argument. I have heard the argument that going back to COVID, another thing that ties back to COVID was a moratorium that they couldn't shut off anyone's power because they didn't have money to pay the bill. Okay, whatever. That's in the past. Let's not rehash it. My point is this. The argument has been made under the Gold Dome in Hartford. There was the argument made, and the result, I don't remember the bill. I really don't remember the bill. But there was a bill that came as a result of the following argument that I'm gonna tell you about, that had bipartisan support. It had support from lots and lots of R's, or lots of the R's that are there anyways. And that was that Eversource lost money and therefore they deserve to be made whole. And that a part of the public benefits package is being used for those who don't pay the bills now, but also to repay those who did not pay their bills in the past during COVID, during the moratoriums. Now, I have two problems with this. One, being a small business owner myself, every day I'm in operations, I run risk. I carry costs, I run risk. And that is the nature of all business. Not all business is guaranteed, nor should it be. I can't think of one business that should be guaranteed by the government or by anything else to be profitable, to be successful. That should not be the case. I don't know of any that have that a circumstance in effect. So when you tell me that the government told a business what they can or can't do, in this case, they told Eversource that they couldn't shut off anyone's power because of rules that they were implementing, illegal rules, unconstitutional rules that they were enforcing in terms of lockdowns and whatnot. Not only that, but now you're going to say, so they did wrong at the beginning, and now they're doing wrong again by allowing them to essentially charge for losses that they incurred, which, as far as I'm concerned, I say, well, that's part of being in business. So you win some and you lose some.
Exactly. So where is my 30,000?
And that argument is that's the argument I can't take. I can't take that you're going to tell me that they deserve to be made whole because they lost money. Well, if they're allergic to losing money, then they shouldn't be in business.
Aren't they the most rich companies at this point?
They're very well endowed, that's for sure. They got plenty of money. They're fine.
They were not on the verge of losing business.
No.
They were not.
No,
so why are you taking my hard-earned money and giving to the company that is already rich? You're not giving that money to homeless people or veterans, because if government told me give $10 a month for veterans and we're gonna, I don't know, build housing for them, I'm all about it. $10 is not really that big of a deal. But why my $10, $20, $30, depending on how big my bill is, right?
Exactly.
And obviously during the summer it was freaking outrageous because how are you gonna live in humid? You need to run AC. So it was like $30 something just to public benefit. How many millions is this? Did you already not make your money back after COVID? Like, come on now. I mean, and the governor just sitting there, and he's fine with it. He's fine with it.
How many? I would be. I'll tell you what. I'll give you a research project. You tell me, and I would be very impressed if you can find one. How many fees? How many tolls? How many taxes? How many government programs? How many anything of that nature? Has any level of government ever began and then ended. For example, the fact that they allow the public benefits charge, enough sooner or later there's going to be enough pushback, and they will eliminate it. But guess what? They'll just rename it, or they'll fold it into their fees.
Yeah.
Say, for example, on the Mass Pike. The Mass Pike was only going to be told to pay for itself, and then they swore up and down that they would cease tolls. They haven't. No politician has ever. And if I'm wrong, I'll be happy to be proven wrong. Please, anyone prove me wrong, please. I would love to learn this, because my research has yielded zero results. How many politicians have voted down or voted to eliminate a program that has been already started? Some things maybe expire, like they'll pass a bill that says this is set to expire in 10 years, and some are allowed to expire. I'm asking you, how many things have been voted to be removed, to end? And I believe that to be zero, especially when you're talking about big, huge sums of money that are skimmed off the top, and who knows, I don't know where they go. I mean, listen, the only thing government does better than not solve problems is waste money. So your guess is as good as mine as to where to go, as to where it all ends up.
Yeah, so well, I mean, another issue that I have is Connecticut has no tolls, right?
Right now.
So massive tax increase from Lamont because of tolls. That happened like a few years back. But hold on a second. Why do we not have tolls, and everyone just says that Connecticut is highway in between Boston and New York? I mean, why do I gotta pay for my car $400 a year? Because everyone else is doing business here?
Yeah.
What is going on with these people? Do you have electronic tolls? Get rid of my goddamn tax on vehicles. Now.
They won't. See, that's the thing, Agnes. They won't get rid of the tax. They'll just add another one, and they'll find a way to spend the money. That's the issue. We don't have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem. We spend too much because there's no accountability based into all these, for lack of a better term, you'll pardon me, deep state operatives. There's no accountability. The term of use it or lose it when you're talking about government budgets, I mean, just listen to it. Use it or lose it. Well, then that means that if I don't spend this money, then I won't have it to spend next year. Why doesn't anyone ever try to implement some sort of a rollover savings program into unused funds? We have that here in Suffield. I'm actually on the ACE Commission, which is for capital expenditures. Any money that we have left over, which it is not a lot, and it's not every year, but sometimes we do. We roll that. We take that. We don't refund it. I wish we did, but it's not enough really to make a difference in our mill rate. So what we do is we actually take that money and we put it in a savings account, a high yield savings account, and then that way we have that kind of creates our rainy day fund. Again, I wish that it was a greater amount that would yield tax cuts. Maybe if the approach was to save money first and spend money second, then we could do that. And all it takes people with experience in pinching pennies. It takes people with experience in making tough decisions, making payrolls, let me tell you this, Agnes. Back in 2013, I was working on my degree. I was almost done at Central for construction management. I was just getting my business off the ground. It was only 2 or 3 years in, and it was not going well. And I was a young father. I mean, I'm still a young father, but I was an even younger father back then. I remember on Monday, I had my cable shut off and my power shut off on Tuesday because I had to make a decision the Friday prior. Am I going to pay myself and therefore my personal expenses, or am I going to make payroll in full? And I chose my guys. And there was no moratorium on shutting off power. No one was coming to my rescue, and I'll never forget that. I'll never forget what I had to do as a result. After it happened, what I had to do to get power and cable restored. And I would love to know if anyone in Congress, I'm sure there might be someone nationally at some level of government who has been through the same thing, but there's not enough. There's not enough of us, because guess what? Everyone out there's making, again, tough choices, trying to pay between, trying to decide between paying for their dinner or their medicine, trying to decide whether to pay for their insurance, well, which insurance they can pay and which insurance they can't. And that's not the American dream. That's not the American dream. And I believe in physics. I believe in physics and Newton's third law: action, reaction, equal and opposite. What I mean by that is, I believe if something can be fixed, if something can be broken, it can be fixed. I'm not trying to say it's going to be easy, because it's easier to push something downhill than it is to push it uphill. But if it can go down, therefore it can go up. If it can be broken, it can be fixed. And we just have to, we just have to have enough drive, have enough sense of urgency, have necessity, and have the momentum of history at our backs. Again, like I've been saying, if it's now or never for our nation.
It's now or never.
It's now or never.
We're all tired. We've been tired, and this last year has shown a lot. Oh my gosh, it's shown a lot what is going on really with the government, and how much money are they really having there available, because they have never really spoken about money like this before. It's billions and trillions of dollars. Like I suspected really those huge numbers, which, listen, I have never seen in my life, ever. I have not seen $1 million. No. With my own eyes. No, like with your own eyes. Did you see $1 million like put out in front of you? If you did, like, you're lucky. I have never did, and I don't know if I will ever. But when you're talking about billions of dollars and trillions of dollars that they're making from, so population of United States is about 340 million. I think I just looked it up. Give and take, because they don't know how many illegals they have, so add another 15 plus, I would say. So with 340 million, I'm not quite sure how many kids that could be, but let's say 30 million is paying into the system, right? It's so much money on everything that they tax us. From the income tax to everything else that you buy with your money has tax on it. Everything else. And it's tax on top of tax on top of tax. And you know what? And then I was just thinking, if you have a son or a daughter, right, and they're about 16, 17 years old, they cannot vote, correct? But they are legally able to work, right? You can have them on the payroll, right?
Taxation without representation? Yeah. I know where you're going with that.
Right? Isn't that fucked up or what?
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna take money from kids, literally, instead of just, okay, until 18 you're not paying taxes on however much money you want to make. Even if it's $1 million that they would make from their dad's company, whatever. It's just gonna help them in the long run. Right. But they're not able to represent themselves, and you're gonna tax them? That sucks. It sucks. Like, what is going on with this country? I don't know. I don't like it.
It's a spending problem. It's a spending addiction. It's an addiction to spending and wasting money.
It is.
We're sending these for gender studies in Pakistan, for sex changes in Guatemala. If we can do that. If we can do that, then you're telling me we have zero combat, a combat of veterans homeless on the streets. That's what that means. Because if we have money to waste, how many countries nationwide tax their own citizens and send that money to other countries?
Exactly.
One.
Who? Ours. Okay, I thought except ours. Yeah, I try to look a little bit, into my country of origin, Poland and stuff like that, and it's funny because they offer a lot more for their citizens than America does. Mm-hmm. And they are still based on family, a man and a woman,
Mhm.
you know, and when you have kids, a woman can have a year off from work and it's paid. How about that? Ever happened here? Now, you have 3 weeks free, your vacation time that you use from your work, and then what you do with that kid. I mean, come on, like America needs to do better. Like we need to do better. And to be able to do better, we need to elect better people that are going to push a better laws for us. Like literally. What else? I mean, what kind of proposition is there in current, Congress for families?
Well, honestly, Agnes, that's interesting. I don't really want to create more laws that govern families more than they already are. I'd rather see government out of our way, out of our lives, out of our bedrooms, out of our, away from our dinner tables, off of our backs, out of my pocket. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see, and now to your point, the maternity leave. Okay, fine, but here's what I'd like to see even better. Now, granted, I'm not the emperor of families, and I don't want to be. But if I was, I would, or in my perfect world, anyways, I would see a society where you don't need two incomes to support one kid. I would like to see that. I would, and guess what? And that's really getting back to the taxes. See, it all gets back to the taxes.
It does.
Taxes, because in order to pay the tax, in order to pay for the fees, you need two incomes. And two incomes don't go as far as they used to, let alone how two incomes now don't do half of what one used to. And our priorities are backwards, our spending patterns are backwards. And we got to right this ship, and we can. But that's why I get back to the cultural battle. We have to win the culture war. We have to get our cultural priorities. Maybe that's better put that way. We need to get our priorities in terms of our culture in order first. We need to make sure that we're taking care of our own. We need to make sure that we promote nuclear families as opposed to incentivizing fatherless homes. We need to idolize. We need to idolize dutiful men. We need to stop self-mutilating, self-hatred, self-division. We need to stop all that. And if we could do even just a little bit of those things, if we could just do a little bit better in those areas, the sky is the limit, Agnes. The sky is the limit. But where there's a will, there's a way. But there has to be a will to do it. There has to be a will to do it, and someone, to quote you, you got to have someone with balls, who's walked the walk, who's not going to just talk the talk, who's going to walk the walk.
Yeah.
Who's been there and done that, and is not afraid. Who's not afraid to share stories, like, for example, me getting my power shut off, and there's a whole lot we don't have time for more, but I have a whole lot of others that we can get to next time, that will further illustrate the fact that, if you can have a leader a leader needs to be able to lead because they have vision. And usually it's easier to have a vision if you have experience, it's easier to have a vision if you've seen more, right? If you've seen not just good, but also bad, if you've had to live through bad, and if you've had to pick yourself up again over and over and over, like I have, that kind of establishes credibility in leadership. And that's what I bring to the table.
Yeah. And I love it. I honestly think that who we need right now is people who living in this economy and understand how it is to get a house that costs $500,000, that paid a mortgage of $4,000, and then what do you got to do to get health insurance because you don't have a cushy job that offers, for a 401k pension and insurance. And if you do, good for you. But those jobs are a lot harder to come by nowadays. They really are.
Right.
There is not really that many companies that offer those benefits anymore. So what you're going to do for your retirement? So those folks and the government, I am not quite 100% sure that they do understand how it is to live life nowadays, especially Joe Courtney, who has had a cushiony job since 2007. He doesn't have to go out and buy a house for 500 grand, and he doesn't have to start a family. He doesn't have to worry about vaccinating his kids
No.
and the fact that they're not going to go to public school, that you're going to have to literally choose to homeschool your kids and what you're going to do, because if I'm homeschooling my kids, that means you got to work 3 jobs to be able to afford all this. I don't necessarily think Joe Courtney does understand how it is to live the life nowadays in this economy in Connecticut, in District 2. Even though that you do have a lot of people that own their own houses, but aren't these houses being bought years ago
Yeah.
before the real estate boom?
Yeah. It's true. It's very true.
You know, it only took like 4 years for this craziness to happen. My house is twice as much now. I'm asking, like, what the hell happened? Like, it's over 100 years old. It's $500,000, and I'm like, what the heck? What? For what? For all this old bullshit that I live in? Like, it's gonna fall apart, and it's $500,000. Are you kidding me? What did you do with real estate? What did you do with that? You made it so hard for people because of the COVID. You made it so hard. And we have to, like, like, we have to do something and step, like, backwards to fix all of this. And we
No.
need to do something to, like, lower the interest rates, because real estate market is really not doing that great anymore. Even New York is not coming here and buying all the properties anymore. So it's
No.
not really that worth it for them.
No.
So
Well,
I'm
it will be once that communist wins.
yeah, I mean, I just looked at one of the properties here in New Britain, and I'm kind of like a fan of 3-family or tops 4, because that is not extremely expensive and it still, like, brings you kind of okay income, But right now, a 3-family house, it's $500,000 in New Britain, and then you pay $10,000 tax on that, and your interest is what, 6% or something. So your mortgage is basically like $4,500. So you gotta rent at least for $2,000 one of the apartments, and you have 3, so you gotta go 6, because there's just no way the math is gonna work. And people are asking, why are those rents so high? If I'm buying for 500 with taxes that high, with insurance that is 4,500, and the interest rate that is that high, unfortunately your rent is going to be $2,000. And who can afford $2,000? Almost no one at this point. It's crazy what happened to Connecticut. I mean, and now I saw Republicans actually with this 500 million that government has in surplus, right? I think those funds are like COVID leftover COVID funds and some other funds that they actually have. They're planning Republicans. They're planning to give higher tax credit for homeowners. Instead of 300, they're trying to go to 1,000, to give you back in taxes, which I'm not going to lie would help a lot, but I don't think Democrats are going to go for that.
Why would they? They don't have to.
Right? Exactly. I'm like, I mean, you have 500 million that you don't know what to do with. They literally just, oh, we're gonna just keep it for, like, if something happens or whatever else, And then, like, Lamont just came through with $3 million for SNAP. SNAP in Connecticut is $72 million. He comes up with 3, and he goes like, well, every person is gonna get a bag full of groceries. And I'm just like, what? What are you talking about? You have 500 million surplus, and you don't know what to do with it. I mean, like, even if you spend 72 million to put, literally, those SNAP benefits on people's cards, and the benefits would come later. You can just supplement that, but you're not gonna do that. Like, what? Like, what? Like, where am I?
I know.
Like, math is really simple here. Like, at least to me, you got 500 million. Your SNAP is 72 million. I mean, but anyways, I wanted just to present your website real quick, if I may.
Sure, please.
And then I wanna talk about your you have you're raising funds, correct? You have a campaign, and and I would like to show to everyone. So this is George's website, and there is a button on the right here that it says donate, so we can use that button to donate to you.
Yes.
Okay, and then it says donate by mail, donate online, join the movement. So if I click join the movement, where am I going?
That's just going to essentially sign you up for the mailing list. It puts us in contact with each other. Those come straight to me. I've had probably 2 dozen in the past 90 days. I've had about two dozen people send me messages through there. Because maybe especially at the beginning I didn't have my palm cards yet, and they weren't able to get my number maybe quickly enough at the end of a presentation or whatever. So they that's just one way they can get in touch with me directly. For volunteering, hosting house parties or whatever.
Sounds good. And so I see you have a little bit of a memo here. I'm not one of them. I'm one of you, which you just said that you are a hardworking.
I am not one.
Yeah. And then in Congress, I'll fight for securing our future, restoring pride in America. We did talk about that quite a bit. Getting back to building Connecticut. Building, which means construction. Right. We need construction in Connecticut. We need housing. It's a tremendous shortage of housing here in Connecticut, and I'm not talking about affordable housing. The housing that you can sell and make money on. So that's what we need here in Connecticut. And George, you'd be the one person to call if someone wants to build a house. Is that correct?
Oh, I'll build anything. You want to build a doghouse? We'll do that. You want to build a gas station? I'll do that. You want to, if it goes vertical, I build it.
Okay, sounds good. Wow, like you're holding a really good trade here, And then so when we click donate, there is a couple options to donate money for you, right? So it's 25, 50, 100, 200, 500, 3,500. I wish I could donate 35, but it's gonna be hard with this economy right now. I know. But what I can do, I can definitely donate $25 to you. I'm gonna do that right in a sec. So I just wanted to show them the website. You just put your email, you put your phone number, and then obviously the regular information, your name, address, and the card number. Oh, you can use PayPal. Okay, perfect. That is actually helpful. A lot of people use PayPal, so they don't gotta go grab their wallet, And then there is another website that you gave me, which was the Thanksgiving, pre-Thanksgiving bash.
That's it.
You want to tell me a little bit about that?
So what that is really a party. I thought it would be, I thought it was being clever by not having a host committee or having any guest speakers. I mean, for example, my good friend Matt Corey, I'm sure he'll be there. Peter Lamage will probably be there. I have some local guys from surrounding towns, like my first selectman here in Suffield will be there. Some Summers guys will be there. But the point is, it's not So the point is that it's not a political thing. I mean, yes, it's a fundraiser for me, but we're just having fun. We own the park, so we're definitely encouraging families because kids will have free reign of all the activities. We did it in the afternoon, so that way it wasn't that cold. Open bar. We got.
That's something for me.
There you go. We got a '90s band. They're kind of an ensemble of 3 other established bands, and they're just going to be doing '90s covers. Maybe that could have been better phrased, but it is what it is. Yeah, and Sonny's Place is just a cool. Listen. It's really simple. It's just a party. We're just hanging out. Obviously, trying to get the campaign off the ground.
Right.
To an even better degree, but it's just a party, and that's it.
And so the party is in Somers, Connecticut.
Yep.
Okay, Sonny's Place, 349 Main Street, Somers, Connecticut, and I am looking at the donor level, $100 per person, the full experience VIP, all inclusive, and then the general admission will be $15 per person.
The donor
And
level, we actually lower. You have I on that's on me. I sent you the old file.
oh, okay, so is it lower?
The donor is 75, and
Oh, nice, nice.
and the general admission we put in there really just for because this band has a lot of followers, and I was told by them that they're gonna only want they're gonna pull a lot of people who just want to see them, and I'm like, you know what, that's cool because it's all about having a party. But really, I really am encouraging. I really am encouraging people with kids to come out because that's kind of why I picked the place. And like I said, during those 4 hours, we own the park. So if you were looking for something to do that day, anyways, it's a bargain. It's a steal.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And then I'm sorry because I am filling out now the form for you to donate to you. Did you say you can bring kids, correct?
To this, absolutely yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, cool. So then what kind of activities
They have there should be it's not there. Once you go to the event page, which you can get to through the QR code there is let's see. There's go-karts, laser tag. There's an arcade, batting cages. There's just there's actually a couple playscapes. They have zip line. They actually have bumper boats as well, but that's going to probably be too cold for people to want to get wet. So that would probably be off limits. But yeah, they got everything. I mean, you can see the aerial shot. They got there's mini golf. They got a whole bunch of stuff.
That's cool. Sounds like an awesome place to be at, and that will definitely help you, correct?
Oh yeah, big time.
All right, I'm trying to make this happen with PayPal. 1368. Now it's like giving me all these codes and okay. Maybe I'm getting there. Okay, I think I did it. All right, let's see. How do I now? Where's my Facebook? I'm gonna take this one out. And then I'm gonna share the one that I just did. Share screen. Boom. So there it is. I dropped $25 for you, general fund. Yeah, so everyone can do the same. You just have to go to votegeorgeforcongress.com. Am I right? Yep. I'm right? That website, votegeorgeforcongress.com, and you will be able to donate to George. And we do need people like George. We do. So I mean, it's whole entire year by the time the election comes around. So we will definitely speak again. That's for sure. Just a closer. Maybe somewhere in the middle of the year or something like this, because now everyone is really trying for the local elections.
Oh yeah.
And so. We are here in New Britain. We are Republican, and I want to stay Republican because I really, 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 really like what Aaron Stewart has done for New Britain, and I can tell you that my life, even though it was pretty bad, but it made it better that I do live in Republican town, and she has done a lot with the money and grants that she was getting from all her residents. Redid basically whole entire town. Like everything is redone. New parks for kids, roads paved, new sidewalks. I mean, really a lot. New monuments, a whole entire new downtown. She did build a lot of affordable housing, and a little bit too much for my liking. Just because how it is with your building. The building anything basically is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so the buildings that she was doing cost around like $80 million to build, and they are subsidized housing or affordable housing, or however you want to really call it. What problem I have with that is the city is 100% responsible for those buildings. The city on those buildings do not pay themselves tax. right? And all the maintenance and everything else that goes with those buildings is literally the city's responsibility.
Hmm.
So with that being said, if you keep building more and more and more and more, and you're spending money and you're spending millions of dollars, like $80 million, there was I think like 30 apartments I think she did. How much really is it going to take for the return on that investment? I'm like, man, I listen, I'm not really that great doing math, but when I really need to do math, I'll do it. And it needs to make sense for Polish Agnes. And $80 million and few apartments that gonna cost you $1,500, $1,800. That's gonna be just a lot of years. And the people that are gonna live in those apartments are probably not gonna make it all the way until this investment is gonna really be returnable, let's say. So currently, affordable housing in New Britain is 19%, and Connecticut only wants, I think, 9 or 10. So, I mean, I would say, like, let's try to attract more people and more construction that people maybe would like to buy
Hmm.
and move into New Britain. Or as a matter of fact, you were in the District 2, there's a lot of land there.
There is.
I mean, if we started building here in Connecticut, although even the taxes are high, we need affordable houses for people to buy and move their families in. We
Mhm.
really do. I mean, I get it. New construction is extremely expensive, but we
It
don't have to build these houses so big. We
is.
can build them like 12, 1,400 square feet, and someone is going to be happy to buy it and raise their family in it. But if we're not going to build, how are these families even going to be able? We're selling the same houses over and over. We're buying and selling over and over and over again. And the banks already made so much money on the same houses over and over and over again.
They do.
I mean, we need to change something. The state is small, but it has potential. It really does have potential.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. All right, George. I think we covered a lot. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast. I really appreciate you so much. And like I said, anything I can do to help turn CT red, I'm there.
I appreciate you, Agnes. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, and let's talk sometime closer to the next elections next year, because that's gonna be important. And if you ever go to any events that like extremely important events, and you need to live stream those events, you can always let me know.
I will.
Yeah, I could come with you like we did, and I didn't even remember that I met you, during the convoy that we have done.
That's right.
Yeah, we have. There was a lot of people actually for that. Was that the one that started in Massachusetts?
Yes.
Was that the one? Yeah, there. That was a lot of people. It was a really, 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 really nice event, and I've met so many people. I actually didn't really remember that I met you. But listen, there's so many people. I drove around the country. I met so many people. It's really hard to remember, but I know now. District 2, George Austin.
That's it.
All right. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you guys for being here with us. Please make sure that you like the video. Also, please make sure that you share and show it to everyone you possibly can, and especially if you have anybody in Connecticut, make sure you share it with them. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.
I know.